Welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Aparna, working as scientist in MFPI Food Quality Control Laboratory, Professor Jayashankar, Telangana State Agricultural University, Hyderabad. Now, we are going to learn about nutritional aspects and factors affecting the composition of minerals in the foods and food matrices. Minerals are the inorganic elements other than carbon, hydrogen, oxygen and nitrogen which remain behind in the ash when the food is incinerated. They are usually divided into two broad groups. The first one is macrominerals and the second one is microminerals or trace elements. This term has been historical in origin and has originated at a time when the development of analytical equipment was still in its infancy, and trace was therefore used to refer to the compounds whose presence could be detected but cannot be quantified. But today, with high-end analytical equipment which can allow the determination of trace elements also, we still follow the same nomenclature as macrominerals and microminerals. Apart from the macro and microminerals, we also have the third category which is called as non-essential minerals, depending on whether or not they are required for the human nutrition or whether they have any metabolic role in the body. Non-essential elements are also called as toxic elements. Now let us look at the minerals which will come into macromineral category, micro or trace mineral category and the toxic minerals category. Under the macrominerals, we have calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, potassium, sodium and sulfur. Under the microminerals or trace minerals, we have chromium, cobalt, copper, iodine, iron, manganese, molybdenum, selenium and zinc. Under the non-essential or toxic minerals, we have cadmium, lead and mercury. Let us now look at the chemical characteristics of these minerals. Now let us look at the chemical characteristics of the minerals. Nearly all minerals required by the body are having low atomic number, from sodium which has 11 to selenium which has 34. But we also have some exceptions like molybdenum with 42 and iodine with 53 atomic numbers. In living matter, these elements are present in different states like as inorganic compounds or as free ions in the body fluids or in combined forms with some kind of organic compounds. Approximately 99% of body's calcium and 85% of phosphorus are in the hard mineral component of the bones. The two elements are combined together to form compound which is similar to hydroxyapatite. Other inorganic elements like fluoride, magnesium, sodium and potassium are also incorporated into bone mineral to form partly amorphous and partly crystalline structures of the bone. In contrast to calcium in skeleton, the elemental iron, which occurs almost entirely as a part of coordination compound based on the porphyrin nucleus, is involved in the transportation of oxygen to all the tissues of the body. Several of the other trace elements also are mainly present in the biological tissues as organic compounds such as selenium in the form of metalloenzyme, glutathione peroxidase and molybdenum in the form of superoxide dismutase. Minerals have got an impact on the health, absorption, and therefore we have the recommended intakes which are given by the Indian Council of Medical Research through National Institute of Nutrition. Minerals function mainly in three ways in the body. The first function is minerals are required as structural components. For example, calcium, phosphate, magnesium are required in the bones and teeth formation. Then the second one is minerals are required in organic combinations as physically important compounds. Example are phosphorus in nucleotides, zinc in enzymes such as carbonic anhydrase and iodine in thyroid hormone. The third requirement is minerals in the solutions in the body fluids to maintain the pH, help conduct the nerve impulses, control the muscle contractions, etc. The minerals involved in these processes are sodium and potassium, which are present in the blood and intracellular fluids. The macrominerals are mainly involved in functions 1 and 3, that is, in the structural composition and in the solutions. A normal diet, which is composed of a mixture of both plant and animal foodstuffs, should supply all the minerals which are required by the body. The minerals ingested in the food are absorbed after digestion from the gut into the bloodstream, which transports them to the sites where they function or they are stored. Not all minerals are absorbed to the same extent. Some, including sodium and potassium, are readily absorbed as ions or as simple compounds. Others like calcium, magnesium and phosphorus may be combined as indigestible or insoluble compounds in the food and are less likely or less easily taken up from the gut. A few others, especially some of the trace elements like iron, etc., are poorly absorbed. Uptake of certain minerals from the food can also be affected by presence of other components in the diet. Phytic acid, phytates, which are present in the cereal, can inhibit the absorption of iron and zinc. The same effect can be caused by oxalate, which is present in some kinds of green leafy vegetables. Iodine absorption can be limited by sulfur-containing amino acids, which are known as goitrogens, which are present in foods like cabbage, cauliflower, etc. Consumption of these vegetables can exacerbate the iodine deficiency and increase the likelihood of goiter formation. If an essential element is at low level in the diet, a nutritional deficiency may occur with specific symptoms. Thus, inadequate intake of iron can cause anemia, inadequate intake of iodine can cause goiter, and such kind of problems can be caused. Usually, these conditions can be corrected when the intake of missing element is increased either by diet or by providing any kind of supplements. Similarly, an excessive intake of minerals may also have serious consequences for health. Too much sodium intake in the diet is associated with high blood pressure, increased risk of stroke also. A condition known as siderosis is occurred when excess of iron is deposited in the body, and it can result when too much amount of iron is also absorbed in the body. Selenosis is a fatal effect which can occur due to excessive intake of selenium. Less serious effects like nausea, etc. can happen when high intake of zinc is taken. In addition to their nutritional and physiological role, minerals also contribute to food flavor and texture. They activate or inhibit the enzyme catalyzed and other reactions. Even though minerals are present in low concentrations, they often affect the physical and chemical properties of the food because of their interactions with other food components present in the same matrix. Let us now understand the macrominerals, their physiological importance and food applications. As the name suggests, these minerals are required in relatively larger amounts in the diet, generally greater than 100 milligrams per day per person. It follows that they are also present in greater amounts in the body. Calcium, magnesium and phosphorus, they play an important role in the stability of fluid milk products such as liquid milk, concentrated milk, lassi, etc. and control the texture of semi-solid products like cheese, ice cream, chana, paneer, khova, etc. While calcium and magnesium, the two divalent cations, improve the hard texture in cheese, ice cream, chana, paneer, etc., the divalent ions like phosphate and citrate import soft texture which are characteristic to these products. Concentration of minerals in the foods can also affect the digestibility of the food materials. Now let us understand the food sources, physiological role and food applications of the macrominerals. The first macromineral being calcium. It is available in all the dairy products. It is also available in green leafy vegetables, fish, bones, etc. also contain the calcium. Now coming to the physiological roles of calcium, calcium has got a very important structural and mechanical role in the human body. It is also a component of blood, lymph and soft tissues. It is also involved in blood clotting processes, muscle contraction, nerve impulse transmissions, and it is also a mediator of hormone action, enzymes and also for protein regulation. Deficiency of calcium can lead to problems like osteoporosis in the later parts of life. Coming to the food applications of calcium, it forms gels with some macromolecules. It also acts as texture modifier and it also firms the canned vegetables, fruits, meat and meat products. Then coming to the second mineral, that is phosphorus. Phosphorus is present in good quantities in nuts, oil seeds, pulses and cereals. The functions of phosphorus are, it is involved in formation of bones and teeth. It is also a constituent of various physiologically important molecules and nucleic acids like DNA, RNA and also a variety of coenzymes like NAD+, NADP, FMN and FAD. It also influences the acid-base balance of the blood. Coming to the application of phosphorus in food industries, it is added as phosphate and as an acidulant in soft drinks. For moisture retention, it is added in meats and it also aids in emulsification. Coming to the next macromineral, that is magnesium. Magnesium is present in whole grains, nuts, legumes and green leafy vegetables in good quantity. Functions of magnesium include, it forms part of the bone tissue and along with calcium and some other cations, it affects the fluidity and permeability of the membranes. Coming to application of magnesium in the food industry, it is used as a color modifier. Color modifier in foods, it removes the magnesium from the chlorophyll and changes the color from green to olive green in alkaline pHs. Then coming to the next macromolecule, that is sodium and potassium. Foods which are rich in sodium and potassium are all the fruits and vegetables are very good sources of sodium and potassium. Their function in the human body is for maintenance of osmotic pressure, cell volume and for membrane potential also. Coming to the application of sodium and potassium in the food industry, potassium as potassium acid tartarate acts as a leavening agent. Potassium chloride acts as a salt substituent. Sodium chloride can be used as a preservative and it lowers the water activity in the food. Some sodium salts also are used as leavening agents. Coming to the last macromolecule, that is sulfur. Coming to the rich sources of sulfur, sulfur is very widely distributed in nature and hence available abundantly in all the foods and food matrices. Coming to the function of sulfur in the human body, it is an antimicrobial agent and it is a natural antimicrobial and it is very widely used in the food industry in wine making. Sulfur dioxide and sulfides are also used as browning inhibitors in fruits and vegetable processing. Then coming to the second category of minerals, that is microminerals or trace minerals. Coming to the physiological importance and food applications of trace minerals, microminerals, they occur in almost all the living tissues in micro amounts or in small amounts. In fact, early workers who are unable to measure their precise concentration with the available methods, they referred to them as trace elements. For this reason, they are known as trace elements even till today. Other popular names include minor elements or oligo elements. These microminerals requirement is less than 100 milligrams per day per person. Coming to the trace elements, which are subdivided into three groups. The first one is essential trace elements. These have been shown to be dietary essentials as these are vital to the enzymatic processes of living cells. Iron, copper, iodine, zinc, manganese, cobalt, molybdenum, selenium and chromium belong to this category. Then we have the second subcategory, that is possibly essential trace elements. These exhibit some metabolic activity revealed both in vitro as well as in vivo studies and are likely to be essential. Nickel, tin, vanadium, cadmium, silicon, barium and strontium belong to this category. Then we have the third subcategory, that is non-essential trace elements. The elements of these category have not been established. However, aluminium, boron, lead, mercury, fluorine and arsenic are examples included under this category. Now let us look at the food sources, physiological role and food applications of the microminerals. The first micromineral is iron. The food sources of iron include green leafy vegetables, cereals, legumes, meat and meat products which are good sources. Also, food which is cooked in iron utensils also provides some amount of iron. Coming to the functions of iron or the physiological role of iron in the human body, iron aids in oxygen transportation through hemoglobin. Iron also ensures availability of oxygen in the muscle cells and oxygen which is stored as combination with iron containing muscle protein myoglobin. Iron is also a constituent of enzymes such as peroxidase, catalase, etc., which catalyze the oxidation reduction reactions in the human body. Coming to the food applications of iron, they catalyze lipid peroxidations in the foods. They also act as color modifiers in foods. They also act as cofactors to many enzymes like cytochromes and hypoxygenases. Then we have the second micromineral, that is iodine. Iodine is available in iodized salt, seafoods, plants and animals which are grown in areas where the soils are rich in iodine content. Coming to the physiological role of iodine, it acts as an integral part of thyroid hormone. Insufficient quantities of iodine can result in problems related to thyroid, that is goiter, etc. Thyroid deficiency during the prenatal period can lead to serious mental and physical problems in the growth stage in the child. Coming to the application of iodine in food industry, potassium iodate, it improves the baking quality of wheat flour. Therefore, it is also used as a dough improver. Selenium-rich food sources are seafoods, organ meats, cereals. The physiological role of selenium is, it is present in the amino acids as a constituent of proteins. Selenocysteine occurs at the active site of several enzymes and functions as enzyme cofactor. Selenium does not have any significant role in the food processing. Then coming to the next micromineral, that is copper. Copper is present in organ meats, seafoods, nuts and seeds. Coming to the physiological role of copper, it is a part of a number of proteins including many important enzymes. Some of them are copper binding proteins, metallothionein, albumin blood clotting factor V, amine oxidases, peroxidases, cytochrome C oxidase, superoxide dismutase, tyrosinase, C18 desaturase. Then coming to the application of copper in food industries, it acts as a catalyst, acts as a color modifier, enzyme cofactor and texture stabilizer in various applications. Coming to the last microminerals or trace minerals, that is cobalt and manganese. Foods rich in cobalt and manganese include green leafy vegetables, especially spinach, which is a very rich source, and it also includes dairy products, and the cereals are poor sources of cobalt and manganese. Physiological role of cobalt include, cobalt is a constituent of B12. It functions as a coenzyme. Manganese as Mn2+ ion activates a number of plant and animal enzymes including oxidoreductases, lyases, ligases, hydrolases, kinases, transferases, and various decarboxylases. Applications of cobalt and manganese include manganese as an enzyme cofactor can be utilized in pyruvate carboxylases and superoxide dismutase involved reactions. Coming to the last component, that is the toxic metals, which are also called as non-essential minerals. These minerals, they cause toxicity and are generally heavy metals like arsenic, cadmium, lead, mercury, chromium and beryllium. These heavy metals can be present in foods, beverages, drinking water, and also are present in the exhaust of automobiles and exhausts of the industries. Coming to the sources, symptoms of the exposure to these toxic metals, the first one is aluminium. Coming to the sources of aluminium, aluminium can come into the food chain through cookware which is prepared with aluminium, cans, tap water, baking powders, antacids, processed cheeses, some medications and some kinds of physical exposure through pollution. Symptoms of aluminium toxicity include Alzheimer's disease, anemia and other blood disorders, colic, fatigue, dental caries, kidney and liver dysfunctions, and apart from that, neuromuscular disorders and Parkinson's disease also. Coming to the next toxic element, that is arsenic. Arsenic can come into the food chain through pesticides, beer, tap water, paints, pigments, cosmetics, fungicides, insecticides and contaminated food. Arsenic toxicity can lead to abdominal pain, anorexia, dermatitis, diarrhea, edema, goiter, headache, herpes, impaired healing, jaundice, kidney and liver damage, muscle spasms, vasodilation, vertigo, weakness, etc. Coming to the next mineral, that is beryllium. Beryllium enters into the human body through polluted air, plastics, electronics, steel alloys, etc. Beryllium toxicity can show symptoms like arthritis, depression, fatigue, osteoporosis and symptoms of slow metabolism. The next toxic metal is cadmium. Cadmium can enter into the human body through cigarettes, processed and refined foods, fish, tap water, auto exhaust, galvanized pipes, air pollution from incineration and physical exposure, etc. Cadmium toxicity can show symptoms like hypertension, arthritis, diabetes, anemia, atherosclerosis, cancer, cardiovascular diseases, reduced fertility, hypoglycemia, headaches, osteoporosis, kidney disorders, etc. The next heavy metal is copper. Copper can come into the food through copper water pipes, tap water, pesticides, swimming pools, intrauterine devices, dental amalgams, occupational exposures, etc. Cancer toxicity can lead to symptoms like allergies, hair loss, anemia, anxiety, arthritis, cancer, autism, depression, elevated cholesterol, cystic fibrosis, diabetes, dyslexia, inflammation, kidney and liver dysfunctions, etc. Coming to the next mineral, that is lead. Lead can enter into the human body through tap water, cigarette smoking, hair dyes, paints, pesticides in batteries, industrial pollutions, etc. Lead toxicity can give rise to symptoms like abdominal pain, anemia, arthritis, arteriosclerosis, blindness, cancer, depression, diabetes, epilepsy, fatigue, gout, infertility, inflammation, kidney dysfunctions, etc. Coming to the next heavy metal, that is mercury. Mercury can enter into the food chain through dental amalgams, fish, medications, air pollutions, adhesives, fabric softeners, waxes, etc. Mercury toxicity can lead to symptoms like depression, dermatitis, fatigue, headaches, hearing loss, hyperactivity, memory loss, mood swings, nervousness, pain in limbs, thyroid, muscle weaknesses, etc. Then we have the last heavy metal, that is nickel. Nickel can enter into the human body by consumption of hydrogenated oils, For example, margarines, commercial peanut butter, and shortenings. It also enters into the human body through consumption of shellfish. It also enters into the human body by consumption of shellfish, and air pollution also can lead to nickel toxicity. Symptoms of nickel toxicity include cancer, depression, heart attack, hemorrhages, kidney problems, low blood pressure, paralysis, nausea, skin problems, and vomiting. Hence, it is very essential to avoid the seepage of heavy metals or toxic elements into the food chain to avoid such kind of deleterious effect on the health. In today's chapter, we have learnt about the classification of minerals, where the minerals are classified into macro minerals, micro minerals, and toxic minerals. We have also seen about the sources, physiological functions, and the applications of the minerals in the food industry. And in case of heavy metals or toxic metals, we have seen the health hazards which can crop up because of the heavy metal toxicity. For further information on this topic, you can refer to food chemistry textbook written by Nelson or any other textbook with relevant information. Thank you.